Hey up! Right, I have a confession to make. Whilst I was recording this video, Mr. Cockup came to visit, and a sequence that I thought I'd recorded turned out I hadn't recorded it at all. And it wasn't exactly something that I could go back and retake, so I'll sort of make my apologies now. But in the greater scheme of things, I don't think it really matters. Now, all across this channel over the last few months, I'm frequently asked about a product that people have seen advertised. I can't remember the name of the product, but I've seen them advertised here on YouTube, and I've got to admit I was quite surprised that YouTube had allowed it. But you may have seen them on other social media platforms as well. They show you this car with a badly scraped front bumper. There's one of those fake sort of computer-generated robot voices that tells you that this is a new cutting-edge product that's taken the motor trade by storm. And a person sprays this concoction from a spray bottle onto that damage, gives it a quick wipe with a cloth, and hey presto, the bumper's like new again. Now, this is just like those other adverts that sort of recommend some sort of potion or lotion that you administer it to your teeth or something and it'll help you regrow lost teeth. It's just snake oil, a false advertising campaign designed to part fools from the money. Now, I've watched the scratch removal video a few times and I'm pretty certain what they've done is they've just used something like a wax crayon to approximate something that looks like a scratch or a scrape, and then of course when they spray this product onto it and give it a wipe, it just takes the wax crayon off. There was never any damage to the bumper in the first place. Now, as you know, I used to run my own body shop and am a time-served auto sprayer. And take it from me, over the decades there have been many revolutionary products that are touted to remove scratches or cover scratches. None of them work. All modern paint finishes, automotive paint finishes on motorcycles and cars are what we call a base coat and clear. The panel is first primed and then they put the base coat on, which is actually the colour, and then over the top of that they put a hard lacquer, which seals everything in, protects it and makes it look nice and shiny. If you have a scratch or a scuff that has gone through that clear coat on the top, the only way you can repair it is to have that panel repainted or blended. Either that or you just live with it. There's no magic bullet that will just sort it out with the waft of a cloth. Now, we all like to keep the paintwork on our motor cars and our motorcycles in as good a condition as we possibly can. But these motor vehicles are bright, shiny, highly polished objects travelling around at high speed, open to all the elements and the abuse that might bring about, which essentially is a recipe for disaster. Eventually, you will get some knocks, some chips, some scrapes, and a few grazes here and there. Now, as a general rule, if a graze has gone more than halfway through the lacquer coat, the chances of you polishing it out or buffing it out completely are limited. Although you can do things to improve its appearance and make it, less visible to the eye. All you really require to sort of make these corrections where you can is the right product and a little bit of elbow grease and know-how. On the subject of the right product, there was a product that I used for decades called Auto Glim Radiant Wax. That was the trade name for it. I think the retail name was Super Resin Polish. Now, unfortunately, about a decade ago, Auto Glim changed the formulation of this product and it's pants. It's useless. Basically, it was a very fine abrasive polish, and it was invented, if you like, to assist with the second-hand motor trade. So if they got a bit of a tatty car in where the paintwork was a bit dull, this stuff would abrade away the top layer of paint, just microns, remove the swells and scratches, and significantly improve the aesthetics of the car ready for sale. Now, when this product hit the retail market, people were using it on the cars every week. You know, they didn't understand what this product was really for. So inevitably, after a few months of use, they would go through the clear coat and just make a total mess of the car. Hence Autoglim's reformulation, because I presume people started complaining and suing them. Now, with the demise of super resin polish, really, there was nothing left on the market that would do the job adequately when it came to removing scuffs and scratches. There are trade products from Faraclay and 3M that will do the job, but they're incredibly expensive, and some of them can be tricky to use. There was nothing available on the retail market for years. Now, I'm about to reveal one of my best kept secrets, a product that I discovered about 2.5 years ago, which not only replaces the Autoglim super resin polish, I think it actually does a slightly better job than the original formulation. So today I'm going to reveal what that product is and show you how to remove a scuff from the tank of a motorcycle. Now, about 3 years ago, I'm going to say 3 years ago, it might be a little bit less, a company called Autobrite Direct approached me about reviewing some of their products. I had a look at their website and it sort of came over to me as sort of one of these startup sort of projects. I've seen a lot of companies like this spring up and disappear over the years, and I'll be honest, I wasn't that impressed. But just to be polite, I agreed to trial some of the products. I thought I would probably not like them and, you know, I'd just make my excuses and not make any videos. But actually, this company's a bit of a dark horse, and I was very impressed with most of what I saw. They have a big following among the professional valeting industry, and I even noticed recently that Halfords is starting to stock them here in the UK. Now, one of the products that they sent me was a product called Correct It. Now, this is a product aimed very much at doing the same job that the old super resin polish used to do, only it does it better. For a start, it's water soluble. Autoglim wasn't. So with Correct It, you can use water to lubricate the area that you're polishing, so you're using less product. It also cuts faster than the old Autoglim product. Now, this is an advantage to someone like me because it means it takes less time to correct a defect on the paintwork, but obviously it also means that the uninitiated can get themselves into trouble faster. You know, if you get carried away, you could end up going through the clear coat. So I'm recommending this polish with caution. As you've probably noticed, I have still got the Royal Enfield Hunter. It wasn't collected when I thought it was going to be collected. So for the moment, I still have it. But right from when I took delivery, there was a blemish on the tank that was just annoying the hell out of me. And it's a textbook example of the type of graze or scuff that you see on motorcycles everywhere. It's a very common issue. Now, this might have been caused by a tie-down strap when the bike's been in transit at some stage, because I think it's been sort of ferried all over the country in its short life. But I think it's more likely that it's been damage caused by the clothing of some journalist that rode it before me. Zips are a prime candidate for causing this sort of damage. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it was actually quite deep. I mean, I'd gauge it's roughly 25% of the way through the clear coat. And I just thought it was a perfect example to show you what this Correct It polish can do. Now, the active ingredient in most of these cutting polishes is usually a carbide powder, suspended in a liquid which is abrasive. To get a reasonably fast cut so that you can make good progress, you usually need a fairly coarse grade that in itself will leave behind tiny micro scratches which are visible to the eye. So then you would go on to a medium grade and then finally a fine grade. So for something like a 3N cutting system, you would need 3 grades, and half-litre bottles would be something like £30 or £40 each, so you've quite a significant financial investment. The beauty of Correct It is that it is a fast-cutting fine grid. I'm not quite sure how they achieve that, I'm not a chemist, but it does work, it's incredibly effective. Now, you probably noticed that at the beginning of this sequence that I'm showing you now, the damage had already been partially removed. That's where I made that cock up. I thought I'd film the initial stage, but I hadn't, so this is about a third of a way through the process. But the technique and product use is exactly the same all the way through. Now, what I did is I sort of separated this repair, if you like, or correction into 3 sections. You've got the section that I'm working on now here on the sort of flat of the top of the tank, but then you have a curve where it goes onto the side wall of the tank. Actually, on that curve is some damage, and then beyond that curve on the side wall, the damage continues. So I split this up into 3 parts, leaving the actual damage on that bend until last, because if you try to take it all out at once, you're liable to put too much pressure on that swage line, and that's where you will go through the lacquer. So leave that until last and just concentrate on the bits either side of that bend. First of all, let's just go through the tools that are required to carry this work out. Now, Autobrite recommend some sort of microfiber pad that they can supply you with. I didn't have one, so I returned to my traditional favourite, some mutton cloth. I'll leave a link in the video description down below for the type that I use. In addition to that, you're going to need a spray bottle filled with clean, cold water straight out of the tap. And of course, a bottle of Correct It. Now, I should point out that this is an old bottle that I've been using for 2.5 to 3 years. As a result of that, over time, some of the liquid content has evaporated, so this polish is a little bit thicker than it would be when you buy this stuff new. So, as I've said, I'd already been at it about 5 minutes before I realised that the camera wasn't rolling, and I'd significantly reduced the damage, as you can see here, but it's still not acceptable. The deepest part of that damage is still present. Just apply a sort of pea-sized amount of the polish either directly to the paintwork or onto your cloth. Wet the area by spraying it gently with some water, and then using linear motions, don't go in circles. Polish over the damaged area and the immediate area around it. To correct it properly, you've got to remove some of the material from around the damage. You don't just concentrate on the damage itself, otherwise you end up with what we used to call a fried egg, where you can actually see the dip where the damage was. Keep wetting it so that the cloth and the polish are well lubricated. This helps it cut faster whilst leaving a good surface finish behind. Now, keep changing direction every few seconds, so work front to back for a few seconds, then from side to side for a few seconds, effectively a cross pattern. And then regularly clean the area off to check your work to see what your progress is, and stop as soon as you're happy with it. Don't be tempted to just carry on. Depending on the size of the area that you're correcting, use 2 to 3 fingers on a pad of the cloth. Don't be tempted to just push hard with one finger. You need to keep the wear as even as possible to polish that paint down evenly and prevent unsightly dips in the paint. As you can see here, we're almost there. The worst area that you can still see is that bit that's right on the swage and just a little bit on the top. You don't need to use a lot of pressure. Pressing hard will not sort of repair the damage better or quicker. It just increases the likelihood of you going through the lacquer. Just buffing here, you're not really grinding the paint away. The polish does the work, not the pressure from your fingers, if you know what I mean. So, quite literally, another minute's work and the top and the sides are where we want them. There's just that bit on the swage that needs correcting. For various reasons, paint tends to be thinner on bends and swage lines. It's all to do with, you know, the way the paint lays during the paint process. And of course, pressure from you polishing is likely to be more concentrated on this area, so be very, very gentle. And in this case, polish along the bend rather than across the bend. Be particularly careful with this area. And with just another minute's judicial rubbing, it's sorted. All in all, I would say correction time on this was about 10 minutes. This is a really efficient product if it's used properly. And when I say used properly, I mean a patient, gentle, methodical approach to correction. A haphazard hammer and tongs, go at it as hard as you can approach rarely ends well. This is a skill well worth learning. Approach light scratches in exactly the same way, but scratches are slightly different. The damage tends to be more concentrated and it tends to go deeper. So quite often they're not correctable. But again, shallow, light scratches are well within the realms of this method and this product. I know a lot of people roll their eyes when you talk about waxing paintwork. A lot of people just don't want to be bothered. They don't see the point of doing it. They are firm believers that Johnson's Sparkle or Pledge does the job just as well. It doesn't. I'm just trying this Blends wax out at the moment from Autobrite, a carnauba wax which is fortified with polymers. Now these products truly do give your paintwork some protection. Not just against the elements, but against light scratching as well. Now don't get me wrong, it doesn't act like armour, but carnauba wax is a hard wax, so 3 coats of this stuff does create a buffer against light abrasion. I've used these waxes for years, I'm just trying this one out for the first time here. But keeping coats of wax topped up on your paintwork does create a thin layer that will act as a barrier between the outside world and your actual paintwork, and it will minimise the incidence of light scratches and swells. And the beauty of it is, if there are any light scratches or swells, and I mean really light, it will fill them in. These products were invented for a reason, and it wasn't solely just to relieve you of cash unnecessarily. Now, I did take a bit of a risk carrying this repair out on this bike because it's not mine, and I've got no doubt that if I had gone through the clear coat on it, which, to be honest, I can't remember ever actually doing that, but I've no doubt that if I had, it would have cost me a new fuel tank. But it's served its purpose. It's enabled me to make this video, and it's enabled me to return this Hunter to Royal Enfield when it's finally picked up in better condition than it was when it was given to me. I will, of course, leave links to all of the products that I've used in this video, including links to the polish and the wax at Autobrite Direct. Ordinarily, I managed to negotiate a 10% discount for viewers of this channel through a code that I'll leave in the video description. Unfortunately, they're running a special promotion at the moment for Christmas. If you spend a certain amount of money, you're entered into a prize draw, so they weren't willing to do it. Now, I begged and I pleaded, and they still said no, and eventually I had to resort to throwing myself on the floor and kicking and screaming, and eventually they relented. So that code is in the video description, 10% off through this channel. Just use that code at the checkout. Once again, thank you so much for watching this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you would please leave a like on this video. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. It's totally free and you can unsubscribe whenever you like. But if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell and ensure that your notifications are enabled. That way YouTube will let you know each time I release a pearl of wisdom in video form. Right, I will of course be back next week, so until then, if you're riding, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon.